The great arena of the Zarthian Empire was filled with noise. Thousands of alien voices shouted in joy. Blue firelights burned high above the stone walls. This was not a place of mercy. This was a place of pride, power, and fear. At the center of the arena stood a human. His name was Ethan Carter. He was thin. His clothes were torn. Blood ran down his forehead. Heavy metal chains were locked around his wrists. 2 alien guards pushed him forward. He almost fell, but he stayed on his feet. High above on a golden throne sat Queen Zira. She was tall and beautiful. Her silver armor shined under the arena lights. Her cold eyes watched the human with clear disgust. She raised her hand. The crowd slowly became quiet. "So," she said, her voice calm but sharp, "this is the human who dared to enter my empire." The crowd laughed. A weak human, alone, in chains. Queen Zira smiled. "General Karak," she called. From the other side of the arena, a giant alien warrior walked forward. His armor was black. His body was full of scars. His eyes burned red. This was the strongest warrior of the empire. The crowd began to cheer his name. "Karak! Karak!" Queen Zira pointed at Ethan. "Humiliate him," she ordered. "Break his pride. Make him beg. Show all races what happens when a human challenges my power." The crowd roared with joy. Karak toward Ethan. Each step shook the ground. He stopped in front of the human and looked down. "So small," Karak said. "So weak." Ethan slowly lifted his head. His face was tired. His eyes were dark, but they were not afraid. "I don't want to fight," Ethan said quietly. "I only came to speak." The crowd laughed again. Queen Zira leaned forward. "You came to speak?" she said. "In my arena? In chains?" She stood up from her throne. "You will learn to kneel," she said coldly. She snapped her fingers. The chains around Ethan's wrists unlocked and fell to the ground. The crowd gasped. Karak smiled. "Good," he said. "I prefer my prey free." Ethan looked at his hands. He took a deep breath. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something had changed. The fight began. Karak attacked first. He moved like a storm. One heavy punch hit Ethan in the chest. Ethan flew across the arena and hit the stone wall. The crowd cheered. Karak raised his arms. "Is that all?" he shouted. Ethan slowly pushed himself up. He was coughing. Blood came from his mouth, but he stood. The crowd laughed again. Karak walked to him. Another punch. Another kick. Ethan fell again. Queen Zira watched with a smile. "Yes," she said. "Break him." Karak grabbed Ethan by the hair and lifted his head. "Beg," Karak said. Ethan looked into Karak's eyes. "I will not kneel," he said. Karak threw him to the ground. The crowd booed. "Pathetic human. Stay down." Ethan lay on the stone floor. His vision was blurry. His body hurt, but his mind remembered. He remembered Earth. He remembered his family. He remembered the ships that came from the sky. He remembered the cities burning. He remembered his little sister crying. He pushed himself up again. The crowd fell silent. Queen Zira frowned. "Why does he still stand?" she asked. Karak growled. "This ends now." He ran at Ethan again, but this time Ethan moved. He stepped to the side. Karak missed. The crowd gasped. Ethan hit Karak in the ribs. It was not a strong hit, but it was fast. Karak stumbled. The crowd became quiet. Ethan looked at his own hand. He looked surprised. Then calm. Karak turned angry. He attacked again. Ethan dodged again, then again. The crowd was silent now. Ethan's movements were simple. No fancy moves. No weapons. Only balance. Only timing. Karak became tired. Ethan did not. Queen Zira stood up. "What is happening?" she whispered. Karak roared and charged again. Ethan waited. At the last second, he moved. He used Karuk's own strength against him. Karuk fell to the ground. The arena went completely silent. Ethan stood over the fallen warrior, breathing hard, blood on his face, but standing. He looked up at Queen Zyra. "I came here in chains," he said. "You wanted me humiliated." The queen felt something strange in her chest. Fear. Ethan raised his hands. "I don't want your empire," he said. "I don't want your throne." He looked around at the silent crowd. "I only wanted justice." Karogli tried to stand again, but he failed. The strongest warrior of the empire could not rise. Queen Zyra's hands were shaking. This was impossible. A human defeating her champion? The laws of the empire were clear. If the queen's chosen warrior fell in a public duel, the queen must pay the price. She looked at Ethan. Her voice was low. "This is not over, human." Ethan met her eyes. "It already is." The crowd did not cheer. They did not laugh. They only stared. Because for the first time, the Zarthian Empire saw a human who refused to kneel. The arena stayed silent. No cheers. No laughter. Only heavy breathing filled the air. General Karuk lay on the stone floor. His armor was cracked. His chest moved up and down. Ethan stood a few steps away. His hands were shaking. His legs hurt. He had never fought like this before, but he was still standing. Queen Zyra slowly sat back on her throne. Her eyes were wide. "This is not possible," she whispered. Karadin pushed his hands against the ground. "I am not defeated," he said. He forced himself up. The crowd gasped. The strongest warrior of the empire was standing again. Karuk wiped blood from his mouth. "You are a trick," he said to Ethan, "a weak human trick." Ethan said nothing. He only took a deep breath. His chest burned. His arms felt heavy, but his eyes stayed calm. Karuk charged again. This time, he used both fists. The ground cracked under his feet. Ethan raised his arms. He blocked the first punch. Exploded in his bones. The second punch hit his shoulder. He fell to one knee. The crowd cheered. "Finish him. Kill the human." Queen Zyra leaned forward. "Yes," she said softly. "Now break him." Karuk grabbed Ethan's head. "You should have stayed down," he said. He lifted his fist. Ethan closed his eyes, not in fear, but in memory. He remembered his father teaching him how to breathe. "Stay calm," his father had said. "Fear makes you slow." Ethan opened his eyes. He moved his head to the side. Karuk's punch hit the ground. Instead, the stone broke. Ethan twisted his body. He hit Karuk in the stomach. Once, twice, 3 times. Karuk stepped back. The crowd fell. Silent again. "No human hits me like that." Karuk growled. He attacked again. Faster, stronger. Ethan moved back. He slipped. He almost fell. Karuk kicked him in the chest. Ethan flew back and rolled across the ground. The crowd roared. "Stay down, human." Ethan lay still. The dust slowly settled. Queen Zyra smiled. "Yes," she said. "End this." Karuk walked toward Ethan. Slow, confident. He raised his foot to crush Ethan's head, but Ethan's hand suddenly grabbed his ankle. The crowd gasped. Ethan pulled. Karuk lost balance. He fell forward. Ethan rolled away. Both stood up again. Now both were bleeding. Now both were breathing hard. The fight was no longer a joke. Queen Zyra felt something strange. This was not humiliation anymore. This was a real battle. Karuk wiped blood from his eyes. "You are not weak," he said. "You are wrong." Ethan answered quietly, "I am human." Karuk roared and charged again. This time, he used a hidden blade from his armor. The blade flashed. Ethan saw it too late. The blade cut his side. Blood spilled. Pain burned through his body. He screamed. The crowd cheered. Queen Zyra stood up. "Yes," she shouted. Karuk smiled. "Now you bleed like the rest." Ethan held his side. His knees almost gave up, but he stayed on his feet. He remembered his sister. He remembered her smile. He remembered her last words. Don't give up. He lifted his head. I will not kneel, he said again. Karok attacked again. The blade came toward his neck. Ethan grabbed Karok's arm. The blade stopped inches from his throat. Ethan pushed it away. He hit Karok's elbow. The blade fell to the ground. The crowd gasped again. Ethan hit Karok's face. Once, twice, three times. Karok fell back. He hit the wall. The ground shook. Ethan walked toward him. Slow, tired, but strong. Queen Zyra stared in shock. No. This should not be happening. Karok tried to stand, but his legs failed him. He fell again. The strongest warrior of the Empire was losing. Ethan stood over him. His voice was low. You wanted to humiliate me. He looked around at the silent crowd. You wanted me to beg. He looked at Queen Zyra. You wanted me to kneel. He shook his head. I am still standing. The crowd did not move. They did not breathe. Queen Zyra's hands were tight on her throne. This human was not normal. This human was dangerous. This human was changing everything. Karuk slowly raised his head. Kill me, he said. Ethan stepped back. No, he said. The crowd gasped. Ethan turned away from Karok. I did not come to be your monster. Queen Zyra stood up suddenly. You will finish him. She shouted. Ethan stopped. He slowly turned his head. His eyes met hers. I will not be your weapon, he said. Silence fell again. Queen Zyra felt fear for the first time in her life. Because this human was not fighting for power, he was fighting for dignity, and that made him unstoppable. The arena was silent. No cheers. No laughter, only the sound of two broken warriors breathing. General Karuk lay against the stone wall. His armor was cracked. His face was covered in blood. Ethan stood in the center of the arena. His shirt was torn. His side was bleeding. His arms were shaking, but he did not fall. Queen Zyra stared at him from her throne. Her hands were tight on the golden arms of her seat. This is not possible, she whispered again. Her empire had never seen this. A human refusing to kneel. The crowd slowly began to whisper. Is he really winning? That is not a weak human. Karuk pushed his hands against the wall. I am not defeated, he growled. He forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but he stood. Crowd gasped. Queen Zyra leaned forward. Finish him, she said coldly. Karuk picked up a heavy metal spear from the ground. He pointed it at Ethan. This ends now, human. Ethan looked at the spear. He took a deep breath. He remembered Earth. He remembered the training camps. He remembered soldiers telling him, never fight fair when your enemy doesn't. Karuk charged. The spear moved fast. Ethan rolled to the side. The spear hit the ground. Sparks flew. Ethan grabbed a small broken chain from the floor. He wrapped it around his hand. Karuk attacked again. The spear came down toward Ethan's head. Ethan blocked it with the chain. The metal clashed. Pain shot through his arm. But he held. He pulled the spear. Karuk lost balance. Ethan hit him in the knee. Karuk screamed and fell. The crowd was in shock. Queen Zyra stood up slowly. Her heart was beating fast. This human is learning, she whispered. Karok dropped the spear. He tried to crawl away. Ethan followed him. Slow, tired, focused. Stay down, Ethan said quietly. Karuk looked up at him. His eyes were full of hate. I am the strongest warrior of this empire. He grabbed a hidden knife from his boot. He stabbed toward Ethan's leg. Ethan felt pain, but he grabbed Karuk's wrist. He twisted it. The knife fell. Ethan punched him in the face. Karuk fell flat on his back. The arena stayed silent. Ethan stood over him. His voice was shaking. I don't want to kill you. Karuk laughed weakly. You are weak if you don't. Ethan shook his head. I am human. Queen Zira stepped forward. Her voice was loud. Kill him now. Ethan did not move. Looked at her. I will not become like you. The queen froze. No one had ever spoken to her like that. The crowd gasped. Karak slowly tried to stand again, but his legs failed. He fell once more. The strongest warrior of the empire could not rise. Queen Zira felt something cold inside her. Fear. Real fear. She raised her hand. Guards! She shouted. Alien soldiers moved toward the arena. The High Council members stood up suddenly. Stop, one of them shouted. This is a public duel. The laws must be respected. Queen Zira's hand shook. She slowly lowered it. Her pride was burning. Her champion was losing. Her empire was watching. Ethan stepped back. He was breathing hard. His vision was blurry. He was close to falling, but he stayed upright. He looked at the crowd. You wanted to see a human break, he said quietly. You wanted to see me beg. He touched his bleeding side. I am still here. The crowd did not answer. They did not insult him. They only stared. Karek raised his head again. You win, he whispered. The words shocked the arena. The strongest warrior had surrendered. Queen Zira's face turned pale. No, she whispered. The laws were clear. If the queen's chosen warrior lost, the queen must pay the price. Ethan did not smile. He did not raise his arms. He only closed his eyes. He remembered his sister again. He remembered her last words. Be better than them. He opened his eyes. I don't want your blood, he said. I only want truth. Queen Zira stepped down from her throne. Her voice was low. You humiliated my empire. Ethan met her eyes. You tried to humiliate me first. The queen felt anger, and something worse. Shame. For the first time in her life, she looked at Kharok. Her strongest warrior. Broken. She looked at Ethan. A human. Unbroken. The crowd slowly began to kneel, not to their queen, but to the human who refused to kneel. Queen Zira's heart beat fast. This human was changing everything, and the punishment had not even begun. The arena was frozen. Thousands of aliens were on their knees. Not for their queen, but for a human. Ethan stood in the center. Blood on his face, dust on his clothes, pain in every bone, but he was still standing. Queen Zira looked at her people. Her hands were shaking. This is madness, she whispered. No ruler in her empire had ever seen this. General Karuk tried to move. His fingers touched the ground. He pushed. His arms failed. He fell again. The strongest warrior of the Talun Zarthian Empire could not rise. The High Council members stood. Their leader, Elder Varuan, raised his staff. The duel is over, he said. The queen's chosen warrior has fallen. The crowd held their breath. Queen Zira's eyes burned with rage. No, she shouted. He still lives. Elder Varuan looked at her. Living does not mean victorious. The queen's pride shattered. She walked down the golden stairs. Each step was heavy. She stopped in front of Ethan. Her voice was sharp. You humiliated my empire. Ethan looked at her calmly. You ordered my humiliation first. The crowd gasped. No one had ever spoken to their queen like that. Queen Zira raised her hand. Guards moved closer. Elder Varuan struck his staff on the ground. Stop, he commanded. This is a lawful duel. Queen Zira's hand froze in the air. Her jaw tightened. Ethan stepped back. He was breathing hard. His vision was fading, but he stayed upright. He looked at Karuk. The warrior's eyes were full of pain. Ethan spoke softly. You fought with honor at the end. Karuk laughed weakly. You broke me, human. Ethan shook his head. No, you broke your own pride. The crowd whispered again. Queen Zira felt something new. Fear mixed with shame. Elder Varuan turned toward the queen. The ancient law must now be spoken. The queen's face went pale. Do not, she said quietly. Elder Varun raised his voice. When a queen's chosen warrior loses in a public duel, the crowd leaned forward. The queen must pay the punishment. Silence exploded in the arena. Queen Zyra's hands trembled. This law is old, she said. It no longer matters. Elder Varun stared at her. The law exists to protect honor. The empire was built on this law. The queen looked at the kneeling crowd. They were watching her, judging her. Waiting. Ethan did not speak. He only stood. Blood slowly dripped onto the stone floor. Elder Varun continued. The punishment must be equal to the crime. Queen Zyra's voice cracked. What crime? Elder Varun pointed at Ethan. You ordered humiliation. You ordered cruelty. You ordered a man to be broken for your pride. The queen closed her eyes. Ethan felt dizzy. He held himself steady. Elder Varun raised his staff again. The punishment will be decided by the High Council. The queen shouted. No, I am the queen. Elder Varun answered calmly. And today, you are bound by law. The crowd murmured. This had never happened before. The queen of the empire facing punishment. Ethan finally spoke. I don't want revenge. The crowd gasped again. Queen Zyra looked at him in shock. You don't? She asked. I only wanted justice, Ethan said. Elder Varun nodded slowly. The human speaks with honor. The queen's heart beat fast. This was worse than death. Public shame. Public judgment. Elder Varun raised his hand. The High Council will now speak the punishment. The queen's knees felt weak. She tried to stand tall. I will not bow, she said. Elder Varun's voice was loud. The punishment is... He paused. The silence felt endless. Marriage. The word hit the arena like thunder. The crowd gasped. Some screamed. Some fainted. Queen Zyra's eyes went wide. No, she whispered. Ethan froze. What? He said. Elder Varun continued. By ancient law, the queen must marry the victor of the duel. The arena exploded with noise. A human? Our queen? This is madness. Queen Zyra's face turned red. You cannot force this. Elder Varun looked at her. The law is older than your crown. Ethan stepped back. I did not ask for this. Elder Varun turned toward him. The law does not ask. Queen Zyra felt her world collapse. Her pride. Her power, her control, all gone. She looked at Ethan. Her voice was full of hate. You ruined my empire. Ethan answered quietly. You ruined my life first. The crowd slowly fell silent again. The marriage decree was sealed. The guards lowered their weapons. Queen stood frozen. Her punishment was not death. It was worse. A human husband. A human reminder. A human who refused to kneel. And the war had only just begun. The palace bells rang. Not in joy. Not in celebration. But in shame. Queen Zyra stood in her private chamber. Her silver armor was gone. She wore a simple white robe. Her crown rested on a small table. She stared at it. I am being punished like a criminal, she whispered. Outside her door, guards waited. Not to protect her, but to make sure she followed the law. The High Council had spoken. The marriage decree was final. She must marry the human. Ethan Carter, the man she ordered to be humiliated. Her hands were shaking. This is a nightmare, she said. Across the palace, Ethan sat alone in a guest room. His wounds were wrapped. His body ached. His mind was louder than his pain. He looked at his hands. I did not come here for a wife, he said softly. A servant entered. The wedding begins soon, she said. Ethan stood slowly. I don't want this, he said. The servant bowed. The law does not care. The wedding hall was filled with nobles. Alien leaders, High Council members. All silent. No music. No joy. Queen Zyra walked in first. Her face was cold. Her eyes were empty. Ethan walked in after her. The crowd whispered. The human. The queens. Punishment. They stood before the altar. Elder Varun raised his staff. By ancient law. The words felt heavy. Ethan stared at the floor. Queen Zira stared at nothing. Do you accept this bond? Elder Varun asked her. She clenched her fists. I do not. She said. The crowd gasped. Elder Varun's voice stayed calm. The law does not ask. He turned to Ethan. Do you accept this bond? Ethan closed his eyes. I accept the law, he said. The words were spoken. The bond was sealed. The crowd did not clap. They only watched. The Queen of the Empire. Married to a human. After the ceremony, they were taken to the royal living chambers. Not together. But under the same roof. Queen Zira slammed her door. I hate you, she whispered. Ethan sat on his bed. I hate this too, he said. They did not speak that night. Days passed. The queen refused to eat with him, refused to look at him. She sent servants to bring his food. She spoke of him as the human. Ethan stayed quiet. He trained alone. He read alone. He walked the palace gardens alone. The Profan stayed quiet. He trained alone. He read alone. He walked the palace gardens alone. Guards watched him. The nobles whispered about him. One night, a servant fell. A tray broke. Food spilled. Queen Zira shouted, useless. The servant cried. Ethan stepped forward. It's fine, he said. He helped her up. Queen Zira saw this. She felt something strange. Why was this human kind? Why was he not cruel? She turned away. I don't need your pity, she said. I am not your enemy, Ethan replied. You humiliated me, she said. You humiliated me first, he answered. Silence filled the room. Days later, a noble insulted Ethan, pet human. He laughed. Ethan said nothing. Queen Zira stood up. Leave, she ordered. The noble froze. No one insulted the queen's husband, even if she hated him. That night, she stood on her balcony. Ethan walked beside her. You protected me today, he said. She crossed her arms. I protected my empire's image, she replied. He nodded. Thank you anyway. She looked at him. Why did his words feel heavy? Why did his voice sound honest? You should hate me, she said. I did. Ethan replied, but hate makes you weak. She stared at him. Humans were strange. That night, for the first time, they ate together. Not as lovers, not as friends, but as enemies learning to breathe in the same room. Queen Zira lay awake. Her heart was confused. Her pride was wounded. Her world had changed. And the human was not what she expected. The royal palace felt different now. Not quiet, not loud. Just tense. Queen Zira and Ethan lived in the same wing, but they walked in different worlds. Servants bowed to her. They stared at him. Nobles smiled at her. They whispered about him. At night, the palace halls were silent, but inside both their rooms, neither of them slept well. Ethan trained every morning in the old garden. He punched the air. He ran. He practiced balance. He wanted his body strong. He wanted his mind calm. Queen Zira watched him from her balcony. She told herself she only wanted to understand her enemy, but her eyes stayed longer than they should. One morning, a group of nobles blocked Ethan's path. You do not belong here, one of them said. Ethan stayed calm. I am not here by choice. The noble laughed. You are the queen's shame. Ethan said nothing. Queen Zira appeared behind them. Move, she ordered. The nobles bowed and left. Ethan looked at her. You don't have to protect me, he said. She crossed her arms. You are my punishment, she replied. No one touches what belongs to the crown. The words were cold, but something inside her shook. Later that day, an enemy fleet entered the empire's space. Alarms rang across the palace. Queen Zira stood in the war hall. Her generals spoke fast. It is the Vorten Empire. They want revenge. They know about the human. Queen Zira clenched her fists. They think I am weak now, she said. Ethan stood at the edge of the room. He listened. He said nothing. The generals ignored him. He is a human. One whispered, he knows nothing of space war. Queen Zira looked at Ethan. What do you think? She asked suddenly. The room froze. Ethan stepped forward. They want to break your image, he said. They want to show the galaxy your throne is unstable. The generals laughed. What does a human know? Ethan stayed calm. They will not attack your fleet first, he continued. They will attack your cities. They want your people to fear you. Silence fell. The Queen's eyes widened. That is exactly what they always do, a general whispered. Queen Zira stared at Ethan. You are not stupid, she said. No, Ethan replied. I am human. The enemy fleet attacked that night. Bombs fell near the capital. People screamed. Buildings burned. Queen Zira stood on her balcony. Her empire was under fire. Her hands shook. Ethan stood beside her. Go to the bunker, she ordered. He shook his head. I will not hide. She looked at him in shock. You are not a soldier. I am human, he replied again. He ran toward the city. The guards shouted. The Queen screamed, stop him. But he did not stop. He helped people escape burning buildings. He carried wounded children. He guided civilians into shelters. A bomb exploded nearby. He fell. He stood again, blood on his face, still helping. The Queen watched everything from a screen. Her heart broke. Why won't he die? She whispered. Ethan saved dozens of lives. Then a Vorton soldier found him. The alien raised his gun. Queen Zira screamed, nitrogen monoxide. The shot rang. Ethan fell. The city went silent. Queen Zira ran to him. She held his everywhere. Why? She cried. He opened his eyes. I told you, he whispered. I am human. Tears fell from her eyes. She had never cried before. Not even when her parents died. Not even when she took the throne. Don't die, she begged. He smiled weakly. I don't plan to. The medics arrived. They took him away. The Vorton fleet retreated. The city survived. Queen Zira stood alone. Her heart was shaking. She realized something terrible. She did not hate him anymore. She was afraid to lose him, and that fear was stronger than her pride. The royal medical chamber was silent. Machines beeped softly. Ethan lay on a white bed. His chest was wrapped in bandages. His face was pale. Queen Zira sat beside him. She had not left his side all night. Her crown lay on a chair. Her silver armor lay on the floor. She held his hand. Her hands were shaking. Don't die, she whispered again. The doctor stepped forward. He will live, he said. Her breath left her chest. Tears filled her eyes. She did not care who saw them. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against Ethan's hand. Stupid human, she whispered. Days passed. Ethan slept. Queen Zira stayed. She brought his food. She cleaned his wounds. She talked to him, even when he did not answer. I was wrong, she said one night. I thought power made me strong. I thought fear made me a queen. She looked at his quiet face. You taught me something. Ethan slowly opened his eyes. She froze. You talk too much, he whispered. She laughed and cried at the same time. You are alive, she said. Sadly, he replied weakly. She punched his arm softly. You scared me. He looked at her. You cried. She looked away. I do not cry. He smiled. Yes, you do. The war hall was full. Days later. The Vorton Empire sent a second fleet. Bigger, stronger. Queen Zira stood on her throne. Ethan stood beside her. The generals whispered, he should not be here. She raised her hand. He will speak. Ethan stepped forward. They will attack from 3 sides, he said. They think we are broken. They think our queen is weak. He looked at the soldiers. She is not weak. She changed. The generals listened. The plan was made. The battle began. Ships clashed. Lasers burned the sky. Explosions shook space. The Vorten fleet was surprised. They fell into traps. Their ships were destroyed. Queen Zero watched from the command ship. Her hands were steady. Ethan stood beside her. "We are winning," she said. "We are human smart," he replied. She smiled. The Vorten leader was captured. He was brought before the queen. "You lost to a human plan," Ethan said. The alien growled. "Humans are weak." Ethan shook his head. "We are loyal." The queen stepped forward. "You attacked my empire. You attacked my people." She looked at Ethan. "You attacked my husband." The words shocked the room. She took Ethan's hand. "I choose him. I choose peace. I choose change." The crowd bowed. The galaxy watched. A queen married to a human, ruling with kindness. Weeks later, the palace garden was full of light. No guards. No fear. Only music. Only smiles. Queen Zira stood in a simple blue dress. No armor. No crown. Ethan stood beside her. "Are you still my punishment?" he asked. She smiled. "You are my choice now." He kissed her hand. The crowd cheered. The human who refused to kneel became the partner of a queen, and the queen who ordered humiliation learned love. The empire changed. No more public cruelty. No more pride games. No more humiliation laws. A new law was written. No being shall be broken for pride. And in the heart of the palace, a human and a queen ruled together. Not by fear. Not by power, but by respect.